A 61-year-old New York City bodega worker was forced to defend his life against the convicted felon who went behind the register and attacked him. Then New York City's Soros-funded DA, the district attorney, charged him with murder. Here's the story from Tucker Carlson. As Tucker Carlson talks about the bodega clerk who was charged with murder after defending himself. That's crazy. Watch this.
Here's a story that tells you a lot. Last Friday, a 35-year-old convicted felon called Austin Simon walked into a neighborhood convenience store in Harlem in New York City and pushed his way behind the counter. Austin's girlfriend had just had a dispute with the clerk in the store. The clerk was a 61-year-old Dominican immigrant called Jose Alba. The woman wanted a bag of potato chips, but there was no money left on her government-issued food stamp card. So the clerk tried to take back the chips. The woman became enraged and went and got her boyfriend. Now, the boyfriend, Austin Simon, had a long history of violent crime. Simon had spent at least 3 years in prison for assault. His most recent parole expired last May. Though Simon had no apparent job, he was wearing a $300 designer T-shirt and a gold earring. And he was extremely angry. He was furious. Austin Simon threw Alba into a wall, then leaned down and screamed in his face. When the older man stood up, Simon grabbed him by the neck. Here's a local news account describing what happened next.
Surveillance video shows 37-year-old Austin Simon push the clerk behind the bodega counter and then stand over him. Moments later, a struggle ensues. The two wrestle and the clerk stabs Simon multiple times. This happened late Friday night in the Blue Moon convenience store off West 140th Street. Police were called for an assault in progress and found Simon bleeding from 2 stab wounds in his chest and 1 in his neck. He later died at the hospital, and police arrested the deli clerk, 51-year-old Jose Alba, for second-degree murder.
Alba's 61, by the way. He's every bit as old as he looks. Now, Simon died. Every death is sad. But at the same time, decent people can acknowledge that some deaths are much sadder than others, and Austin Simon's death is not one of those. Simon was a thug. He was a taker. He was a cruel and vicious bully. Austin Simon was the sort of person who beats up old men simply because he can. Functional societies have zero tolerance for people like Austin Simon because people like Austin Simon hurt the weak and prevent the productive from producing. They themselves contribute nothing. They are, in fact, the mirror image of men like Jose Alba. Jose Alba came to the United States 30 years ago to work, and working is exactly what he was doing at the bodega in Harlem at almost midnight on Friday, selling chips to people who don't bother to work, holding up the retail economy for minimum wage. A healthy society celebrates, venerates men like Jose Alba, men with jobs and families, men with independence and dignity. And above all, a healthy society affirms the right of men like this to self-defense. Self-defense is the cornerstone of all liberty. If you can't defend your own life and property, you have no rights at all. And that was obvious in America for centuries. This was a country whose leaders encouraged decent behavior, who held up the common man as a hero. But that has changed. Jose Alba wasn't lauded for his bravery or his resourcefulness. He wasn't congratulated for defending himself in the face of a violent felon much younger than him, though every single normal person who watched that video on social media applauded, every single one. And yet Alba was arrested at the scene, and he was sent to jail. An openly racist, Soros-backed prosecutor called Alvin Bragg then charged Jose Alba with felony murder. He sent him to Rikers Island, a jail famous among Democrats because it's so squalid and so dangerous that they have spent decades trying to shut it down. But it wasn't so bad they didn't send Jose Alba there. And then Bragg set his bail at $250,000, $250,000, in a city that very recently was considering getting rid of all bail. Compare that to the bail of other violent criminals. Now, a judge later lowered that bond to $50,000, but the message that Bragg sent was very clear to everyone watching. And it was this: if the criminal who assaults you is a member of a favored group, you don't have the right to fight back. You may not defend yourself. You must take whatever he gives you, because thugs have more rights than you do. You being the person dumb enough to be working at almost midnight in a bodega in Harlem on a Friday. That's the message.
Thanks for listening to Go Right with Peter Boykin. Please like this post, And please subscribe and follow and share this podcast to all your social media accounts, and visit GoRightNews.com for more Go Right News with Peter Boykin. If you like what you hear, help support the podcast by donating. The link to donate is on GoRightNews.com. Thank you for your support.
Warning. Notice the social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. GoRightNews.com publishes and shares news gathered by many sources, right, middle, and left. The views in these news might not reflect the views of the publisher or reader in the podcast. Keep this in mind before blocking, striking, or banning Go Right News from your platform.
Hi neighbors, this is Peter Boykin, and this is hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Check out this news story and more on GoRightNews.com and the podcast hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin.
Go right and register to vote. Your vote matters, so vote. Go right and vote. Hashtag Go Right. Go right. Do right. Be right. Go right. Do right. Be right. Lead right. Think right. Vote right. Vote right. Think right. Lead right. Hashtag Go Right.
It's time to join the Go Right movement. It is time to hashtag Go Right for America. Join us at GoRight.us and GoRightNews.com. It is time for the Great American Revival, and it is time to hashtag Go Right for America.
Thanks again, everybody, for listening to this, and please share it everywhere. Again, this has been hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin, a part of GoRightNews.com and a part of the Go Right Network.